Check. Good. So I'm Max Ceron. Ceron, CWB Association Welding Podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding Podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association Podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and as always, I'm out there finding the best stories I can find for you, our faithful listeners. This month, we have a wonderful month of podcasts that are all related to volunteerism, as it's National Volunteer Month in April. So this release is going to be part of a month of great volunteers, and here today we have another wonderful volunteer of ours at the Canadian Welding Association. We have Daniele Calista coming to us from Edmonton, where he attends the University of Alberta. Hey, Daniele, how's it going?
Hey, Max. Thanks for having me, man. It's going great. I'm very excited to be here, very excited to be on the podcast and to tell you a little bit about myself and tell you a little bit about the CCWJ.
You know, I've known you for a couple of years now, since you've been working on your grad and post-grad, and I love your personality. You're not one of the shy ones. You know, there's always a lot of shy students. You're not one of those shy students. And it's been a pleasure to know you the last couple of years and watch you grow and mature, even as a student.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's been I've had the luxury of having some very valuable experiences on my undergrad and having jumped into my graduate studies here. I've had a really good opportunity to hone them in practice in the field at conferences with people like yourself and other professionals. So it's been a constant effort of learning and growing with things that I've picked up through my undergrad. Yeah.
So let's start with what you're studying. So what are you doing right now? What is it that you're doing in college?
So I am currently doing my doctoral studies at CCWJ. My project is sponsored by Advertisers North America, Canada. And basically my project is to gain a better understanding or gain a fundamental understanding of a rather niche welding process called electric resistance welding or high frequency electric resistance welding. Now most welders are out there with a torch in hand, out on the pipeline, but how does the pipe get there in field? And a large portion of pipe that's manufactured is through ERW, electric resistance welding. But there's some nuances in the process in terms of procedure design, procedure analysis, process analysis, and that's where my project is targeted to help support industry in taking the next steps to improving processes, knowing where to set the knobs prior to welding, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And electric, resistance welding, electric resistance welding has been around for a while, but I feel like the technology into inverters and electrical formats, electrical waveforms, has really opened up a whole nother diorama in the high frequency range. And I think that's when a lot of people started reevaluating existing processes, because now with the overlay of high frequency waveforms, you can do things that we weren't able to do before.
Yeah. So electric resistance welding sort of started in the 40s and 50s, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sort of started with under the people were like, hey, if we do this and we do that and we put these two together, we bring the sheet of metal like this, like this, and then press it together and induce current, we should be able to get it to weld, and it worked.
Yeah.
It started out DC, and then as time goes on into the 80s and 90s is when the people switched from DC to just sinusoidal AC frequency, and that's been sort of the standard ever since. But a big sort of maybe trade secret between companies here and there is that some companies they'll publish, but they always hide the good stuff. They always leave researchers or other people at wanting like, okay, but how did you do that exact thing? So how did you know that 200 kilohertz is better than 300 or 300 is better than 200 for that case? How did you know what to set the V distance, that sort of thing? That those are still things that are answered based on experience. So somebody will be in the mill for like 15, 20 years and they'll be Joe on the shop floor. Everyone knows that they go to him and he'll be able to tell them what to do. But for a shop that doesn't have that, they're at a trial and error stage.
Yeah. So this is a big undertaking because, to get into these niche spots, you really have to work a long time in the general, right? Like you have to come up through engineering, you have to get into, Canada doesn't have a welding engineering program, but probably materials. So, what was the education that got you from from your undergrad to this spot?
Um, I think it's valuable to mention even from my high school. I knew I wanted to do grad school for my high school. I was lucky enough to have that sort of choice available to me and ingrained in like my desires. So I knew that from the start. But when in my first year in undergrad, I actually toured our lab, the CCWJ, and I literally thought to myself, "Oh, welding's kind of I'd rather do polymers or something like that." Because I was very interested in like impact absorption for hockey equipment and that sorts of things. But as time goes on, as I go through all my undergrad and do more courses, I'm like taking more heat transfer, mass transfer, analytical modeling of things with like, actual equations to gain like actual representative expressions of things that are unique, and they're simple but they're easy to use for people who can read them. And I realized that all the things I was interested in undergrad was what welding was. And then on top of that, in my undergrad, I was very fortunate to be a part of the U of A's Formula SAE team, which they really quickly they build like a Formula One style open wheel race car. They build a new one each year, and they compete internationally.
Yeah.
So I was in undergrad materials, but being on the Formula team, which was like 90% mechanical engineers, mechies, I was able to really round myself out and get a more practical design aspect, which is also required for welding.
Yeah.
Because a lot of material science is very, very open-ended or advanced, or the real answer for any material scientist is it depends. If you ask them a question, and they always answer it depends. Mechies can give a little bit more of a straight answer, but I was able to get a good mix of both of those worlds, and that's sort of what landed me here. And that's sort of where my project is geared towards. Is we have some open-ended questions, and I'm trying to give direct answers by using systematic things.
Trying to find those practical applications. It's something.
Yes.
It's on one hand, it's very obvious we need practical applications for things that, but on the other hand, there is a desire to see how far you can push the theoretical, right? Because eventually the dream is that the practical catches up to the theoretical, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's sort of a big thing that I learned from Formula was, and I personally believe that a lot of students, like almost all students, should do undergraduate project design. It doesn't have to be Formula. It doesn't have to be a project car, but there's so many project cars up there, or student projects out there where when you actually have to make something, when the chips are down and you actually have to get something in your hands, it's way different than handing in an assignment handing in a report, because the report is like, I wrote it down, I don't know if it works. But if it's real, you have to know, does it actually work? And the practicality is something I learned to appreciate through Formula a lot. Because at the end of the day, if you're not able to put it in practice, it's tough to say you really contributed something, which is ultimately what I want to do. I want to contribute to society with what I can do best.
So this desire that you have, that I sense in you, I see in you, where does it come from? Was 5-year-old Daniele running around being like, I want to grow up to be an engineer? Or when did this come into play? Because I get the feeling from conversations with you that 5-year-old Daniele was probably more focused on wanting to be a professional hockey player than anything else in this world.
Yeah. To some, I did play hockey when I was younger. Good old Alberta boy. But yeah, I started out with sports, and then I realized my knack was real with academics. And I realized that from a young age, where my parents would really they started off with like Lego sets, that sort of thing. And then I got a real knack for like taking things apart, putting them back together, the classic story. And at that point, I realized like that I have a knack for STEM specifically.
Yeah.
And then I just, from then up until like maybe junior high school, I realize it now looking back, but every decision I made in terms of, did I decide to put effort into a course, or did I decide to put effort into assignment or something, or explore a topic, or build something, or look at something, everything I made was doing two things. It was serving my natural curiosity, and then also keeping as many doors open for me as possible. which is, and that's ever since that I realized that that's what I keep doing, and I keep always landing into my. Luckily, I'm able to land back into my curiosity, which is STEM.
Yeah. And did you ever struggle with figuring out, how you're going to apply that? Because, in high school, the conversations start, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go? What are you going to study? And engineering is a wide, broad topic that a lot of people like to throw out there to be like, well, what about engineering? Well, geez, engineering can be anything from a technician to a doctoral student or doctorate, right? So how did you start to work your way through that maze of where you want to go? Like you said, hockey brought you. One of the first questions to you is working with hockey equipment and polymers.
Yep.
There's a great transition. How was it that you filtered that out?
Yeah. So what I was really interested in at the start, when I was in high school and a little bit younger, I thought to myself, what are the two things I like the most?
Mm-hmm.
Hockey and STEM, making things, putting things together, engineering, that sort of thing. And I thought I after doing a lot more Lego sets, that sort of thing, I love Lego Star Wars. I'm very thankful for my parents just absolutely spoiling the hell out of me with those sorts of gifts every year.
It sounds like you still get Lego Star Wars at Christmas.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I have to. Like my girlfriend spoils me too. I have to. So I started to realize, like, if we can make these sorts of objects and compartmentalize them into small pieces and build other things out of them, i.e. Lego pieces, what's to say you can't view the real world like that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I sort of, in a sense, be like, maybe atoms are like Lego pieces, and if you can harness Lego pieces, maybe you can harness atoms or harness microstructures, that sort of thing. Materials, you harness materials to use them for what you want. And then from there, I was like, okay, I'm interested in this. I also love hockey. My dream job might be combining the two things I like the most.
Yeah.
So then I was looking into things, and I saw there was some interesting things on way back in like 2015. It's called D3O foam. CCM had a partnership with D3O to put in their hockey helmets. And D3O foam also makes motorcycle gear equipment. It's really it's like a non-Newtonian type of foam that under high impact it stiffens up, but under soft impact it's really soft. So I was like, okay, to design that'd be very cool, because now you can actually control the material and do what you want it
Isn't
to do.
that just cornstarch and water? Like
for a fluid, yeah, pretty much, yeah. But to make that in a foam and to actually make sure it's in the right temperature range and it has the right ratings and all these things, I was very interested in that. And then from there, I entered engineering, and I was like, okay, I'm set. I want to do, as of right now, these are the two things that interest me the most. I'm going to ride these up and see what happens. And then from there, it was just a cascade of keeping those two, like whenever I made a decision in terms of next steps, it was what keeps the most doors open for me and what keeps my curiosity alive. And so that may not be the same case for others.
Yeah.
I think if I was not if I didn't have as much of a knack for like equations and modeling and the technical stuff, I could totally have seen myself end up as like a machinist or a fabricator, that sort of thing, because I love making things with my hands.
A builder,
yeah. And like there's I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that you get such a sense of pride when you can make something with your hands.
Yeah.
And you can see it, and you had a design on paper and it's doing what you wanted it to do.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of, if any sort of those things resonate with people, like curiosity, making things, having them do them things in a controlled setting, then that's when I would recommend to younger people or students to consider a career in STEM or this engineering, something where they make stuff. Yeah.
Now you get into the U of A, you're in engineering, but the CCWJ is a separate entity on campus. You can be a materials engineer all day and be happy and graduate and go out into the workplace at the U of A without having anything to do with CCWJ. So why did you make that jump? What lured you in to being specifically involved with the Canadian Center for Welding and Joining?
It's a great question. There's many layers to it. As I mentioned, when I first toured the CCWJ in my first year, actually an open house too. And I thought, this is not the thing. Welding's not the thing. And then as I kept going, I ended up going into materials co-op. So I was on work plans throughout my degree, and I did that specifically where at the U of A here we get 3 work terms, different months, 4 months, 8 months, 8 months, and I specifically just set them up to be like, okay, I'm going to set one up to be where I'm in industry. I'm going to set one up to be a research assistant because I'm interested in research, so I can do my work term like that. And then the other one I set up to be somewhat adjacent related to teaching, because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy conveying concepts to people, whether it's mentoring younger students or even
it's a natural progression of education to teach.
Yeah. And it was the same sense of pride that I mentioned, where someone who makes something and you see it. I get the same thing when I explain something to someone or show someone something and they're like, oh, that's cool, or oh, I can use this, and then I see them succeed with that. It's fulfilling. So I did those 3 work terms like that to get a rounded out sense of, okay, which one do I in real life do I actually enjoy the most? And I found that the industry job I did, which was amazing, it was a great company to work for as an engineer. I left. I finished my work term feeling not unfulfilled, but like I was sort of bound by like codes and practices and standards, because there was no flexibility for me to explore what I wanted.
It's all worky bits,
Yeah, it's all prescribed. It's all prescribed type of work, or most of it. At least for materials engineering with a bachelor's. So I realized, okay, I want to be someone who's contributing to codes. I want to be someone who's writing codes, who's expanding on them and helping apply them. And then I realized that requires a research position in materials engineering, specifically. And that is sort of what led me, okay, I should do grad school. I started exploring maybe other alternatives internationally here. And then in my last semester, I took Patricia's welding course. Fell in love with welding. And it was a combination of Patricio being just an amazing professor, awesome teacher, super passionate. And then just, again, the curiosity that I had for the same things that I had curiosity in before, welding had. So I just decided to continue with that trend. Yeah.
And what's the process to get into the CCWJ? Is it like, hey, if you're an engineer and you're into welding, show up, and I'm sure there's limited spots. I'm sure there's limited projects, or how does it work with the arrangement with the U of A?
Yeah. So, for undergrads specifically, I can touch on to start off with. We love undergrads, because we get to show them a lot about. It's like they're fresh. They're fresh engineers. They're engineers to be. So we get to show them a very good balance of a theoretical aspect and then also practical aspect, because our lab is situated as relatively, I would say, it's a more industrial lab compared to others at the U of A.
Yeah.
So students get a very good balance of the two things, because they get to see what they learned in the classroom. We recall what they learned in the classroom, and then they get to see, okay, this is where we actually use it. You didn't just learn that equation over there and you're going to forget about it. Like, it's actually used here. And it's an example. So undergrads, we get them all the time, whether it's from the U of A, from Chile, from Argentina, from France. International students all the time are coming visiting us. And we have them working on projects, either on their own projects, sort of side projects related to other graduate students' projects, like the same apparatus maybe, but side project, or their own project. So that's for undergrads. And then for graduate students, or it's all about an interview process. So it's basically, if you can get your foot in the door and communicate to us that you're passionate, you care, and you want to do good things, that's really the foundation and the base there. It's an attitude first type of thing. Because if you don't have the right attitude, you can't. It's tough to grow on your own. So if you can show that you're independent, it's good things can come from people who want to join and are seeking to join a graduate program that is very balanced, is what I would say.
Yeah, and I would say that there's not a lot of places on the planet that are very specific to this industry. There's a couple per country, if that.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the more wealthy countries that have the ability. So the people that are coming to the door are people that already have, skin in the game, right? They're already there for a reason.
Yeah, and for other people that are maybe in industry already, or they already have a job, and they're looking to like partner with the CCWJ, we have industry partnerships all day long. We a lot of, if not all, most of if not all of our grad projects come from industry partnerships. My project is from an industry partnership. The lab is very well endowed. By we receive so much support from all the welding companies in North America, and so many more I could name. That it's easy for undergrads to come through us and go into industry, and then industry to come back. And if anyone wants to explore their curiosities, but maybe they don't want to go back to grad school, there's so many partnerships and opportunities through what Patricia was and our previous associate director gets us built at the CCWJ.
Well, it's something that is what's the word? I know the word in Spanish. I just came back from Chile, so I'm still in Spanish mode. But it's something that is lacking internationally. I'm not just talking about the pure educational part, but that communication part that you're talking about. I spent some time in Chile. I was talking to the Chilean chapter. I've worked overseas in a number of countries, and what lacks in most of the places I go is the communication between education, industry, and the government, like as a combined effort. So, if you have a I see this happening all the time. I was just like, this is happening in Chile at one of the labs right now. They have a wonderful lab, great equipment, great teachers, and there's research projects going on. And I say, okay, where did these research projects come from? And they just came out of the ether. Meanwhile, there's mining companies, manufacturing companies, shipbuilders, agricultural, hydrogen projects, all these things happening like literally 100 feet outside of the door of this building, and there's no communication. So why is this college not doing research that is going to directly support and help sustain the economy around them? Right. And that's then the government's not interested because it's not going to help the industry. The college is basically not following any format aside from the deans or whoever's in charge. So then why would the government get involved with any funding? So then there goes the funding. So it ends up being kind of dead in the water. A lot of students have trouble finishing out their grad degrees or post-grad degrees because they don't have a topic or something to work on. Meanwhile, industry's floundering, and I literally heard about these companies in Chile farming out all their R&D to Peru or to India or to Europe or to Canada, and it's like, that's unfortunate. Meanwhile, here in Canada, we need more of these kind of colleges. We've got Waterloo, we got, you guys here in Alberta, and aside from that, you have a couple private innovation companies out there that do some R&D, but that communication is the key. You want the R&D to be tacit, you know what I mean? To go out and to be usable, that the thing that you're doing. I always give the example of Joe Welder. I'm Joe Welder. I have no idea what, is happening in a university lab across the country. No idea. But if they're spending money, I sure hope that it makes my job easier. I sure hope it does. Because at the end of the day, it's a long chain and we're still connected. That network, that filament that runs through us all, that carbon filament to be specific, I guess, is there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree, Max. And like specifically for the welder, it's
I stumped you.
I'm trying to piece. I had you had so many good nuggets there that I wanted to touch on. You just kept going, and I'm trying to trying to think back. No. It's fine. It's fine. I'm assuming they could probably edit this out or something like that.
I'm keeping it. I love it. I finally got Daniele without words. I finally did it, everyone.
Yeah. So to go back to what you were saying about in Chile, the connection with industry is extremely important. I'd
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
That is one of the big drivers that I chose the CCWJ was the connection to industry, because, like I said, from Formula, I gained a very good appreciation for practicality. Now it's very unique what the work I'm seeing here. It's not common, and like you said, out of unique, already unique institutions, it's even more unique to actually have projects that are providing solutions. And by providing solutions, I don't mean specifically, like, for example, service projects.
Right.
Like, industry companies, for example, could come to a university and be like, you have this piece of equipment. We know you have it. Can you do these tests? And then your grad student can turn these samples into whatever type of paper they want.
Yeah.
That can be done.
Yeah.
That's run of the mill. But to have a discussion, to inquire questions,
Yeah.
to have the academics ask, why are you seeing this?
Yeah.
Why does that become that way?
Or
because at the end of the day,
why do you care? What's the end game?
Yeah. What is, at the end of the day, it's the people in the field that are actually making the things and are actually doing the practice. So in a sense, they know more than engineers probably could.
Mm-hmm.
They have the experiences is invaluable. The difference is that in academia, we can explore the next step.
Yeah.
And so if we are sort of in academia, I get a sort of sense sometimes on the whole that we're trying to play, like, we're trying to, as industry's climbing, we're trying to play with them. It's like, no,
we should be
industry
ahead.
goes up. Yeah. Industry goes up and academia is supposed to meet and then take the next step, and the industry catches up.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like that. And that's something that I really get the sense that we're trying to do here, which is something that is very, very special. Speaking back to the welder that you were talking about, that ties right into them. Specifically for my project, I've made a point about, I come up with an idea, and then I go, next thing I do, talk to operators.
Yeah.
That's the first, that needs to be an essential thing for anyone trying to do practical research. And it doesn't have to be like welding research. Sometimes has a little bit of a claim to be all like a little bit clunky, a little bit crude, the type of research compared to, it's not as accurate or nuanced, that sort of thing, because there's so much going on, for example, even in a MIG welding torch.
Mm-hmm.
But that shouldn't be an excuse.
Yeah, I don't buy that argument either. Just because there's a lot going on, that just means there's more finesse that can be. We're just not there yet. We came to the game late, you know.
And yeah, exactly. I think a lot of other industries, the welding industry, and the relationship between welding academia and welding industry, can learn a lot from other industries that maybe did things right or did things wrong. And right.
Yeah, like I remember when I first got into the fabrication position at a company, and I had to start working with engineers closer, and I had a fantastic engineer be one of my first bosses, and Nick Coleman, shout out, amazing guy. And he said to me, "Hey man, engineers lab is where we can make mistakes and write them down, you know, because in the workplace, you make a mistake, you work to forget it. Oh, I welded this wrong. Throw it in the scrap bin, make another one. Or this parameter, I got pinholes, grind it out and get it out the door. We make mistakes. Mistakes are part of life. They're part of industry. But on the floor, you don't think about the mistake. You just want to get past it. In a lab, you try to make the mistake, learn the mistake, and figure out how to never do it again, or create parameters that they're just non-existent. And that's, like you're talking, if you could keep academia just one step ahead of industry, you keep down that investment in money into academia, reduces the loss of investment in rework, loss of investment in broken materials, broken plates, lost time of welders, machinery, all that train that goes down can be pulled apart in a lab initially at much lower cost and much lower risk.
Yeah, that's 100%. that sort of goes back to like another type of thing that I desire that I have or goal is serving society.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one thing that I've noticed, or two things actually. One is that it seems to me that people in academia should view themselves as public servants. I've heard this from numerous people, both in academia and in industry, and even in between, like NRC or CanMet. And I think it's true that we're at some extent, academia people are being paid by taxpayer money, so they have an obligation to do good quality research that helps progress society.
Mm-hmm.
And helps serve, and in this case for welding, serve industry. And then the other thing is, I got stumped again. The other thing was related to my own desire, which is to serve society. You can do it in two ways.
Mm-hmm.
One is you can give them tools,
right,
to use. So that can be actual physical tools. It can also be an equation, for example.
The procedural tools,
because, yeah, exactly, a procedural tool. And people don't really think about an equation as a tool, but it is. It enables you to do something that you weren't able to do before, right?
Right.
You give them tools, but also you can help them be more efficient.
Right. Safe.
And so
efficient.
All
those things.
Safety, efficiency. Exactly. Yeah. And that's sort of where I also see my project is that if I can help develop procedures and design procedures, I can help reduce manufacturing waste, manufacturing costs. And then there's also a trickle effect of, I hope, that later on the cost to consumer goes down. Right?
We hope.
we hope. That's what we can hope for. There's a lot of steps in between, but that's another thing, that's another way that we're supposed to help industry. Those two ways, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, let's take the break for our sponsors right now. We're right at the halfway mark perfectly, and our advertisers can get their words in. And when we come back here on the show with you, Daniele, we're going to talk about what's going on in your world today. Not just with the CCWJ, but also with the chapter and your involvement there. How's that sound?
Sounds good, Max.
All right, so we'll be right back here on the CWB Association podcast. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a word from our advertisers.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
And we are back here on the CWB Association podcast. Thanks so much for staying with us. Right before the break, we were talking to Daniele here about the purpose of academia. Really, I think that gets clouded. And this is a conversation that I love to have. You've heard me have this conversation among groups of people because I live in both worlds. I came up as a welder, but I've also spent almost 14 years in universities and colleges studying various things to forward my career as a welder. And at some point you realize that they are intrinsically intertwined to really get somewhere. And perhaps the very seasoned welder who's worked on the shop floor for 40 years has no desire to know academia, but guess what? They know. They just haven't put the numbers to it, the letters to it, the words to it. The language doesn't exist, but the formulas are there. It's coming out. It's a thing, right? It's like me starting a fire with two sticks. I can show you how to start a fire with two sticks, and you can start a fire with two sticks, or you can write me a paper about how friction between two wooden objects creates a high enough heat to start a fire. At the end of the day, it's the same thing, right? So in your world now, you're coming up as towards your doctoral, at some point you're going to be Dr. Calista. Where do you see? Well, you're too far now. There's no backing out now, son.
Yeah, there's no backing out now.
It might take you 9 years, but I'm just kidding. But but what is it that you wish to do once you're done college? Because I mean that's a hard decision for people that have been in the education stream for so long. And I've seen this actually crush some souls. And not to scare you, but
Yeah,
it's
I'm aware. I'm
right.
aware.
And I've
Yeah.
seen it happen where now you got to do something with this thing, this thing, and there's an expectation externally and internally to do something with it. What is it that you want to do with that finished product of a doctorate in the welding sciences?
Yeah, so I think I've been thinking about this a lot.
Yeah.
Because like I said, this was a goal of mine since high school. I was lucky enough to have this as an idea in my head, that I wanted to do, a goal. And being, I don't want to say like, because I haven't done it yet, but
Yeah,
I'm closer to doing it now. I'm very close. Closer than I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's gotten me to think about the purpose and the meaning of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sort of and the next steps. And I'm sort of, as of right now, I'm thinking about it this certain way, is that in the end, I don't see this as like a thing I have to use. I see it as a stepping stone for that's going to enable me to do something else. I don't have to use the degree, but it's a stepping stone for me to do the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm opting to go back to what I've done, I believe, my whole life, which is
don't close any
keep going with
doors.
my curiosity and my desires.
Mm-hmm.
If I can keep those two things alive, I can keep going.
Yeah.
And so whatever decision I choose next, it's going to keep for me the most doors open as possible. So I'm thinking postdoc, at somewhere internationally to help round myself out, and then wherever the powers may be, I may end up. I would like to stay in Alberta. I really love it here. I love Canada. Canada is it's the greatest country on earth, I believe.
I agree,
and it's where I want my family to be. So I'm fine, I believe, whether I could be in industry or in academia. I have preferences for both and non-preferences for both as well. The current state of them. But I think for me, as long as I keep those two things going, those two decision criteria going, I will be content wherever I end up.
Yeah.
And I think that's very powerful, because now I'm not leaving wherever I end up as like the quality of metric for my happiness. Yeah. Right.
Well, and there's a few things, there's nuggets in there that are very valuable that you mentioned. And there are ones, some you learn the hard way, some you get taught. One of the ones that I loved when I was teaching at the college was, after 3 years, 4 years, they get their diploma. And I would always say, now your career starts, right? And people lose focus because in school feels like a career because you're working, you're there, you're doing stuff, and you're applying yourself, and it's stressful and it's hard and stuff. And you tend to lose focus that you're still in school. And it feels very grown up because you're surrounded by really intelligent people that are really, really progressed far in their careers, but you're still in school. The day you get that final diploma, regardless of what level you decide to opt out at, now's the beginning. Now you're just starting your actual career, which is applying all the things you learned to somebody, upon request, not upon your choice, not upon a maybe, not upon a decision as a group, but it's upon request. Someone's going to show up to you and be like, okay, you have this thing. Here's the job. Call me when it's done. It should take you 4 hours. And you're like, what? Right? This is, that's the beginning of the career part. Now, the other part of it is something that I got taught when I was young, is never run away from something, only run towards, and it's for all things in driving. You want to learn how to not spin out a car, keep your eye on where you want to be, not where you just were. You'll never spin out again, right? That's how indie drivers, that's how you do it in sports. You keep your eye on the ball. And that rule applies to a bazillion things in life. Don't run from anything, only run towards. So when you get to make those decisions professionally in terms of your career, I've always kept that focus. And I think that that's what your two rules imply for your desire and your and your desire to also always explore. Because when you explore, you're not going backwards. There's no such things as backwards exploration. There's only forwards exploration, because what's explored is not re-explorable. Well, that's arguable, I guess. But you can, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Exactly. There's so many things to be done.
Yeah.
And that people can think, okay, there's so many things to be done. What does that mean? That can mean new things. You could also go back and do things that others have already done, but for you, they're new, and they're also going to be learning experiences.
And process improvement is the future, man. Innovation over invention.
Yeah, and so it goes back to keeping as many doors open as possible that satisfies that fulfill whatever you think is keeping you happy in the moment.
Engaged.
I've seen a lot of friends get the job that they want to do, and that's great. They're able to do it. And maybe that was their criterion, was that one company. But for me, when I think about that, if I were to get into a position where, okay, I've worked my entire life to work for X company, and then I get there, and three things could happen. One, it's exactly how I envisioned.
Mm-hmm.
Two,
it sucks.
The grass is rarely greener on the other side, so it sucks. And now I'm like, okay, well, I based all my decisions, everything up until now. Or three, you would lose the job. Yeah. And you're like, okay, well,
now what?
I'm left wanting, right?
Yeah. You know, that's as a person who has been fired in the past and has lost jobs and has worked at shops that people would consider to be some of the top shops in this country and still felt unfulfilled. It's a tricky balance. It's a lot to do with your headspace, right? Where you are. There's lots. Work is not everything at the end of the day. There's a lot of things around you that also need to line up for things to be good. You can have the greatest job in the world, but if your home life is suffering because of this job, then it's not the best job in the world, because there's a lot of pieces that need to fit. Now, for you, you have another layer that you add to the madness in the fact that you are also the sitting president right now of the student chapter for the U of A. So, why does someone like Daniele, who has a million things on their plate, pondering their future, postdoc and beyond, and all these things, why would you decide to volunteer time to be a part of a student chapter for the association?
So it comes back to, for me personally, two things. One, it came back to like what my desires. My desires to help people in society. And what better way than the word volunteer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Volunteer. I'm passionate about welding. I'm passionate about what is the science behind welding. So why not help the Welding Society? And in Canada, the Welding Society, that's where I got started in the student chapter here at the U of A.
Mm-hmm.
The student chapter is also very tightly knit with the CCWJ as well. So it was very seamless. I joined the CCWJ, I joined the student chapter. It was like simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I started out I didn't start out as the president. I started out as just someone helping around, just chipping in with the events and activities here. Then I became a secretary and then the president after right now. So I did it to help serve others, but also to learn more, because there's so much to learn in the science. There's so much, but I truly think there's even more to learn about people.
Yeah.
It's one thing that for me, I was able to get a good starting process on, and when I was on formula, because I ended up progressing as well from like support member to a design lead for a subsystem to project manager for about a year, or co-project manager. So I got a sense of the progression, and I noticed there that working in a team environment when you have to make something, once again, is way different than working in a team environment where you have to make a report in a class.
100%. Yeah.
There's a lot more there's already a lot of interpersonal skills and things that happen when you're making a report. When you're making something, it's even more.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to further hone those skills. So student chapter was a great opportunity for that. Not only do I get to continue, it's sort of like it is a student group as well.
Mm-hmm.
Self-led initiatives by the students. but I also now get the opportunity to network with professionals like yourself in industry, between the CWB and also the AWS as well. We help support both societies here at the U of A. Yeah.
Well, and that networking. Well, let's first of all pick apart what you said because it was great. There's professional development skills that you do not get in university, that you do not get in any college, whether it's vocational or academic. And those skills, the soft skills, I hate. I don't like really the term soft skills. Soft sounds weak, but at the end of the day, they're just a whole nother set of professional development skills outside of what you're learning that are key to being successful in your career, to advancing in your career. You can be real smart, and real great on paper and do amazing reports and work inside your bubble, and you can be the Mozart of whatever you're doing. But unless you can translate that into something that people can understand and relate to and even feel emotions or get emotive off of, you'll never ever be able to advance outside of your bubble. Volunteering. I've been volunteering since I was a kid. My family believes in volunteering. It's just something I grew up with. But that's where I feel that a lot of people learn their professional development skills is through volunteer networks. Because, like you just said, you just joined because they told you to join. Well, you're going to go now to these things that people organized, and they didn't organize it for any other reason than for just you to be there. That's literally it. No one's making money. No one's getting paid. They just did it so that you could be there. And you go and you be there and you have a great time. And then you're like, hey, that was fun. How do I become a part of this? And then all of a sudden someone tells you, hey, we need a spot for treasurer. You've never been an accountant. You've never had to do treasury. You've never had to work with business money. But now you're going to learn some basic things about journaling and bank accounts and ins and outs and running an Excel sheet. These skills are invaluable to you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And like your progression through these volunteer positions is also your progression as a professional, right?
Yeah, exactly. And a good thing that I've realized is it's not just fun, but like in the moment you realize like at a technical events you realize that discussion that you were a fly on the wall. Maybe I was just like a little student sitting next to two VPs talking to each other. I'm like, oh, there's a lot of subtle things in that conversation that were very important. They didn't seem important in the moment. When you think back, it's like that's extremely valuable experience.
Mm-hmm.
And these people that are at these events, and they're able to, they're willing to put their time up for these events.
They're passionate.
So that
yeah.
So because they're passionate, but so for the sole reason that people in my position can learn, and grow, and then do the same later on once I grow up and am in a position to help support others as well. It's all a mentorship circle essentially.
That's what I was gonna say. You get to be a part of that mentorship cycle where you're at some point in your career you realize that you go from the mentee to the mentor, and it can be very vague transition where you're like, oh my god, I'm the mentor now. What happened? Does that mean I'm old? Like,
yeah, it's I think it's very situation dependent too. Like once I graduated and I sort of helped pass the torch to the next people in the formula team, I was like, okay, now they're coming to me for questions.
That's right. Like,
yeah. Someone coming to you for questions when you're in a leadership position is slightly different than them coming to you for questions because you have experience.
Experience, yeah.
Because they expect you to have the answer.
Mm-hmm.
In leadership, they expect you to, if you can't find the answer, you go and you lead them.
You can source it. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's an interesting feeling because you're like, wait, I'm how old? Now I feel even older.
Now your involvement, as you said, it kind of was seamless, and it was, but there's always an option to not be as involved as you are. I think I remember the very first year that you showed up for a CanWeld, and you were, you had your presentations that you had submitted, and we talked, and I like to joke and have fun, but you kind of stuck around like a little fly on the wall to like everything that was going on. and I could tell that you were taking in as much as you could. For you, for the people that are listening, what are the takeaways of being involved with the conferences, with the associations, whether it's AWS, CWB, API, ASME, CISC? They all have their own things. What are the takeaways that people should really be on the lookout for?
Great question. I can give an answer. I'm going to give an answer. But I also want to say that I'm still very young, so I don't know if this is maybe the best answer. I'm aware of my experience that is good, but maybe not as comparable to other people in the industry or have been to these events longer than me. But I can say that the biggest takeaway comes from that old adage that it's not what you know, but who you know.
Mm-hmm.
And these types of things are where you get to know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
These are the types of things where you can add someone on LinkedIn or by cold messaging them or whatever, but this is where you get to take them out for a coffee or a beer and you get to learn about them, and then all of a sudden they're in your head, and then next time when they need something or they're working on something, they think of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a big difference maker in that moment, because you never know where those small steps can snowball into something more.
That's a great answer.
Yeah. The one step for me that snowballed into where I am today was formula. The one step.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2018, because if I did not take that, I would not have been interested in welding, because we had to weld on the car.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have been interested in fabrication. I would have, that was the one step that it just continues to go.
Yeah. Like, I mean, for myself, when I started volunteering, I wasn't always in this position. I was a treasurer as well. I was all these things for my local chapter when I was coming up through as a welder here in Regina. And I remember getting to meet business owners and then university students and college students. And that's, for me, was like, okay, like, some of these people I'm meeting are not young. They're, 10, 15 years older than me. And it gave me a timeline of like, I'm not done this. I'm not done yet. Like, I can, there's so much more. And then you start getting more, you start meeting the people and having those network contacts, and you start meeting some of the big wigs in Canada that blow your mind, like the Jim Galloways, the Patricios, the Adrians, the Will Morlages, these people that are floating around this country that are straight up geniuses, that you get to have a conversation with them in a totally chill environment where you're allowed to say whatever you want. And no one's going to call you up and be like, that was dumb. That's not going to happen. The conversations are always so comfortable.
Rich.
Yeah, they are. And I love how it always starts like with a couple professionals, and then you see like the circle of people start to kind of listen in.
My favorite part of the conference is after a one or two talks, or maybe at the end of the day, you just see like a couple of guys just talking, and then some students will join, and then some more industry people. And at the start, it's more people joining because they know someone there. Or they're just like, oh, I'm just waiting for my friend. But then all of a sudden they get interested in and they're contributing to the conversation.
Yeah,
they're contributing to the sharing. It's not just some people just listening.
Mm-hmm.
It's a two-way communication stream. And I really have to not only say that it's up to the students to do this, or up to young professionals. So you don't have to be a student to go to these conferences.
That's right.
But it's also up to the people in the positions to share the knowledge. The Patricios, the Will Morlages, the Adrians, the Jim Galloways. They are very gracious with their time. Even Dan had it too. They're so gracious, and there would not be those circles if those people would not be at the epicenter of those circles.
Yeah. And like, I mean, internationally, like I'm an international guy. I like international relationships. It was something early in my career. I was like, I want to learn how it's like to work in other countries and how things like that happen. And some of those connections I made 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, now I go to like FabTechs or I go to whatever's, and I'm running into friends. And that's like kind of for me, when we were talking about why volunteer, why attend conferences, why attend local sessions, AWS society meetings or the CWBA meetings, why even bother? Because I have tons of welder friends who will never get off their couch to go to one of these meetings. They have zero interest in going to one of these meetings. And they're like, why do you go? Why do you go? it's not just about learning at this point in my career. I have friends there. I have friends that I see once a year at the conference, once a year in the US, once a year, at in South America. And we get so pumped to see each other and to see how our careers have been going, what's new, what's been happening, that the perspective just gets so wide and rich, and I love it. I'm here for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that I very much look forward to as I go throughout my career, be it either I lean more towards academia or industry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going to end up, but it's definitely something that I see is the ability with conferences, and with when you take the time to network, you it could be 5 years, 10 years, but down the line, it does come back. It does come back, and it's always a two-way street. If you give something now,
Mm-hmm.
then later on you'll get something back. And I'm also like a firm believer of that too, because uh, a lot of times when you work hard now, you can reap the rewards later.
Yeah. Yeah, don't keep a scorecard. That's when some people do that. Like, oh, I did this. Don't worry about what you did. Let's just think about tomorrow.
Yeah, no, just do things. Be off the hard on the cuff of your sleeve.
Yeah,
just do what you can.
mm-hmm.
But don't shove. Don't close doors.
Yeah. Now, how do you mentor some of the young students coming in? I remember you brought up Mia, right? And Mia's growing as a person right now, but before our eyes, she's so shy the first time you guys brought her out. How do you mentor someone like that who definitely is intelligent enough to be sitting at the table, has definitely got the ambition, but very overwhelmed, very, shy. And these associations like yourself, a big part of your mentorship is getting them out there, right?
Yeah. So Mia's our vice president right now for our student chapter. And I don't know, my personal opinion, she's she puts on a little bit of a facade. She's not shy. She's even more outgoing than me. She's one of the most outgoing people I know. She was just playing very strategic. She was very smart in taking things in before portraying anything. Yeah. She wanted to really assess her
see what was
her surroundings.
Up.
See what she's getting into, and she's been awesome. Like one of the fastest, if not the fastest, professionally growing people I know. I see her long term contributing to codes and standards massively. Her project's awesome. She's doing awesome work. Her and Eddie and Carter in the lab, they're doing great work. They're doing great work.
You're gonna miss this team when they're all out of there.
Well, that's the thing. That's what we all say. We're gonna miss X person when they go, and I can think, okay, well, are they really gone?
Yeah, no, they're not gone. Yeah, you're gonna see them.
We are connected even stronger than some people that you meet at a conference. So I see some of the strongest industry connections that I'm going to use in my future right here, right here. These people.
It's funny. I ran into somebody at a conference last year, and I said, "I think I see you more often than I see some of my friends in Regina." Like, it's weird. But it's just the way it is. Our careers can be quite consuming, and that's fine. That's fine. Now, to kind of wrap up the interview, for you, where would you see your next steps in terms of your volunteerism? Because you're coming up on grad, then you're kind of out of the student chapter, and some people, that's as far as they go. Do you see yourself sliding into, further volunteer work with other societies or with the Edmonton chapter even, or is it going to be time to kind of get to work and put the work hat down, or how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, this is funny. You asked me that question a year ago, I would have had, or maybe even a few months ago, I would have had a totally different answer to now. Before I would have said, yeah, I'm going to take some time off and whatever, get down to work. But I realized that it sort of goes back to like temporary solution is never temporary. Right? You're like, oh, I'm gonna put some duct tape on that hole, and I'll fix it later. But no, that duct tape's gonna be so I think for me,
duct tape is there for life now.
Yeah. So I think for me, I long term, I 100% want to keep giving back, because I am here today solely because of people giving me things. Whether it was my parents or other professionals, people gave me things and I was able to use them. So I want to give back. I may be doing a little bit less while I finish up my degree, but I will still be involved with the Edmonton chapter, and I hope to be involved with the other technical societies as well.
Yeah.
To just continue the momentum that I have, because I think the being in a part of the student chapter here of a technical society has really given me the opportunity to learn how to run a technical society. And I have previous experience with other projects, but here it's giving me some good experience about how to run a technical society well, how the dynamics work between like the local society and then the national at large, and how to get the most of it and produce the most out of it. So I think I have myself, I'm sort of obligated to keep going a little bit.
At least if it's to hand that off to somebody
present.
other person. Yeah.
Yeah, to still be present. So I do intend to be present. Yeah. And I look forward to many great things in the future.
Well, if you can learn anything from me, I've tried to quit this 100 times and I keep coming back. So I don't know. Once it's in you, it's in you. Now, for the volunteers out there, how can they get a hold of your chapter? How do they become involved, or any young engineers in Alberta that are interested in what you're talking about? How can they reach out to you guys and get a hold of you?
Yeah, awesome. So we have sort of three main channels of communication. Probably the most relaxed one or chill one that people would go through is our Instagram page. So you can DM us on CWB _ AWS U of A chapter. You search that up, you should find us. We also have a LinkedIn page, the CCWJ. Oh, the other way. Yeah. CCWJ LinkedIn page. You can DM. We're keeping an eye out for people who are interested. And then also our student chapter email, ccwjchap@ualberta.ca. People are interested. Again, we are students, so if we get like 100 emails, it's going to take us a while for us to get through them. But we will do our best to get through them, because we are just in the midst of planning our big year capping sort of event, the CCWJ Annual Seminar, which will be in May.
Well, give us some information on that, because this will be released in April, so plenty of time.
Yes, awesome. So the flyers we've already released the first round of flyers on our LinkedIn page, the CCWJ LinkedIn page.
Okay.
I'm going to be sending out a second round of UMAX. So you're going to be able to disperse things through CWB and also the other chapters. We're very excited to have Dr. Dwayne Miller again this year. For those who don't know, this guy is the epitome of lecturers and knowledgeable individuals in the welding world. He's going to be giving us a 2-day series on welded connection design. So the big thing that we've had Dwayne twice already, and the big takeaways is that he gives practical and informative examples and discussion opportunities. At our CCWJ Annual Seminar, we give not only the opportunity to learn about a critical topic in welding, which this year is going to be welded connection design related to fatigue and seismic failure, which I think Alberta is going to start leaning towards a little bit.
Frackalackin'.
But yeah. So we're already ahead of the curve.
Good.
We got Dwayne talking about that stuff. But also networking, because our seminar, which has been over for over a decade, we've created sort of a hub every year where professionals from Alberta, even across Canada, come to our seminar at the U of A, and it's on May 14th to 15th. This coming May, and yeah.
I think that's the weekend right before the long weekend, right? Yeah.
Yes. Weekend. All the details will be in the flyers. We'll have an Eventbrite page and everything set up there.
All right, awesome. Well, everyone, you heard it here. You got to attend. You got to attend. You got to make sure it's the biggest show ever. You got to make sure that you head up to Edmonton for May.
But I picked up what you put down there.
But it's going to be, the chapters, I can't help tell everyone, I say it all the time, whether it's through us or somebody else, networking is the key for your personal growth, your professional development, and making sure you got the leg up on the competition when you're out there scoring work. Like, it's huge. And for you, Daniele, it's been wonderful watching your career, blossom, although you haven't technically started the career part yet, but watching your educational career blossom and seeing how you're growing and I'll be looking forward to seeing you in Red Deer in June.
I'm looking forward to it, Max. Can't wait to catch up with everyone at the NAC meeting and the rest of the chapter execs at the WID. Yeah.
Awesome. And yeah, and for all the people listening, make sure you do a few things. This episode will come out in April, so number one, you'll be able to find out all the information about WID, Welding Industry Day in Alberta. It's going to be in Red Deer, June 11th and 12th. So by now, registration will be out. Sign up quick. There's going to be lots going on. There's going to be speakers all day. There's going to be events hosted by industry, networking events. There's going to be a VIP party, which is always a blast. That's paid for by industry. And then the next day, we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff with Red Deer Polytechnic and industry tours. And we're even talking about having a show and shine and bringing out some cool cars and having a fun night, just chilling out with industry. So it's going to be a couple days in beautiful Red Deer in Alberta. The middle ground. So we're going to have Edmonton chapter, U of A chapter, and Calgary chapter representing. So it's going to be fantastic. As well, chapter events happening across the country, as well as the U of A here. There's chapter events happening in every province throughout the year. This time of year, there's lots going on in every province, so make sure you check out your local chapter. Signing up for membership is always free, so don't miss out on that. Daniela, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks, Max. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone, take care. Keep downloading and sharing. Stay tuned for the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed the show.